What is it that listing agents, which is primarily the audience in which I serve, that I coach, that I train, what can we do as the real estate market shifts right now and more of your listings are sitting on the market for a longer period of time? It's like chasing the ball down the hill, right? And if you just close your eyes for a second and picture that for a minute, it's exactly what is happening right now. As you're listing property, call it at X price, and the market continues to go down, it's like that ball rolling down the hill. As you try to go and catch the ball's already further down the hill. And what ends up happening is you're seeing a large portion of listings come off the market, whether they be expired or not sell, or you're seeing a large portion of these listings having to reduce their prices more so than we've ever seen in a long, long time. So I've got a couple bullets that I think will be very, very helpful if you are a real estate agent and you're a listing agent primarily, and you may have listings right now that aren't selling, that are causing you anxiety because you want to serve your sellers at the highest level, which should be the goal. Here are some things that we can do. Number one, we need to view every single active listing that comes into the marketplace. So every active listing that our listing would compete with needs to not only, I'm not talking about viewing it online. I'm not talking about any of that, although I think that is the first step, setting yourself up in the MLS in a way where you get notified of every new listing certainly is a start. What I mean is this. What I mean is as new listings come into the marketplace, that not only we notify the seller, but we actually go and show those properties to the seller. It's one thing to use our words and to tell the seller, hey, listen, another property just hit the market that we're going to compete with. It's arguably that maybe they have some more features and benefits that we don't, and they have a lower price. So let's go check it out. Let's go look at that property, show the seller the property, schedule a showing, and go and see the property. Now, if the seller can't make it, do an agent preview. Schedule an agent preview, go and look at the home. So you have your finger on the pulse. You know exactly what is happening. As the expert, which the sellers need you to be in this market, let's go and view every single listing. Next, this is something that has helped me for years and years and years. In addition to having your for sale sign in the front yard, with your pretty little realtor picture, in addition to that sign, let's put a second sign in the front yard that says 24/7 open house, call for times. And there's a phone number on that sign. What happens is this is a great strategy to get people that are driving by the home to take action, because it's one thing for somebody to think about, okay, it's a headache maybe to schedule a showing or to go through all that. But an open house, the barrier to entry may appear to be lower, and so they call the sign 24/7 open house. What does that actually mean? It just means that you're showing the property to any buyer that might come to you direct. But I'm telling you, when we put the second sign in the yard, our sign calls went up dramatically. So don't judge it. Try it and see if it helps. Number 3. What we want to do is we want to look at the properties that are coming into the marketplace and going under contract within the same time frame that we listed our home. This gives you such great data to go from, because what happened is when you were hitting the market and another home hit the market in that same period of time, well, it's likely that the buyers took your listing into consideration, took your client's home into consideration during that period of time. That the buyer says, nope, I'm going to pass on that listing and I'm going to go and purchase this other home. So that property that hit the market, got an accepted offer, now is pending in the same time frame that you hit your listing hit the market, will give you great information about what buyers want and what buyers don't want. Next. Another massive tactic here for you. When you have an active listing, you can go into your MLS and do what is called a reverse prospecting lookup. This is so powerful. I'm not specifically suggesting that you will hit a button and magically find a buyer for your listing. However, I will tell you this. What that reverse prospecting list will give you, however, is a list of potential buyers in the marketplace, the number of buyers in the marketplace, and specifically how many of those buyers hearted your listing in the MLS, saved your listing in the MLS as a favorite. And so now if there's 50 or 60 buyers that your listing is showing up in their active listing portal as a potential home for them to go and look at, you could say of the 50, wow, there's 17 that actually hearted my listing. Now, potentially, let me pick up the phone. Let me call the buyer's agent that has a client who hearted my listing as one of their favorites. Let me go and have a voice-to-voice conversation and see if I can drum up some more activity on my listing. Next, let's make sure this might be, you might say this is an obvious one, but I'm telling you, I looked at this just 2 weeks ago and made a huge difference, that all the MLS data that you have inside your listing is accurate. I'll give you a quick story. So I was working with one of the agents that I coach. She had a listing that was a lakefront property, okay? Lakefront property is a true lakefront property. It's very different than that of a home with lake access. And if you've been in the business for any length of time, you understand exactly what I mean. She had the property. It was listed, I believe, at 1.1 or 1.2 million at the time. It was listed as lake access. And for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, we were looking at it saying, why aren't we getting showings? Why aren't we getting the activity that the other lakefront homes are getting in the area that we did with our CMA? And I said, hey, share your screen with me. Let me look at something really quick. And lo and behold, in the MLS, she had it as lake access, not lakefront. We click the button, lakefront. That property then re-syndicated to all of the active buyers looking for lakefront homes. It wasn't but 2 days later, she got 2 offers on the property, got the property sold. So just make sure that everything you have in the MLS, all the buttons are clicked correctly. You might think they are. So did this agent. We made one change, got the property sold for her client. All right, next. What we want to do for the last 4 or 5 years, it's been very common that, and maybe you have found yourself in this same situation, calling listing agents as the buyer agent to have a conversation to give your buyer the greatest likelihood to get their offers accepted. You would say things to the listing agent such as, hey, what's important to the seller? I know obviously price is important. Is there anything else that you think the seller really cares about that I can relay to my buyer? You were making those phone calls all the time, right? Well, we need to do the exact opposite of that now. Now what we have to do is the listing agent is now called the buyer's agent that shows interest in the home or shows the property. We need to invert that conversation. So what does that mean? That means that we have to call the buyer's agent and simply have a conversation to say, hey, what is important to your buyer? Obviously, I know price is important, and certainly if we can work that out, outside of price, you just showed the property. What else is important to your buyer that now I can relay to the seller to see if we can put together a deal? It takes more than you just putting the property in the MLS, sitting back and hoping that it sells. Try that out. I think you're going to find great opportunities for yourself. And then the next tip I'm going to give you is daily updates with your sellers. We need to stay ahead of what I call the communication burden. So sellers are very anxious right now. When their mindset and all they've heard in the media for the past couple of years is sellers market this, multiple offers that, house is selling on the first day with, a bidding war, and now they're sitting on the market week after week, month after month with no offers, that causes great stress, great anxiety. So as a listing agent, rather than even doing a weekly update, which is great, even better, let's do a daily update. Yes, daily. Because if we can stay ahead of that communication burden, it helps to lower the anxiety of our sellers. So we need to let the sellers know, hey, listen, here's what's going on, giving you a quick update. Here's what I'm doing today to make sure that we can get our property in front of any potential buyer so that the seller can rest and know that they have an agent that is proactive. They have an agent that is doing their job. So